Beg your pardon? Meredith, who is this coarse person with the foreign accent?
Students have choices, and they're making those choices. And so the university's got to acknowledge that they have choices and either provide some of those choices, non-credit programs they can get in and get out, or they will watch their enrollments continue to dwindle and dwindle. Because human capability plus AI is what employers are saying they need. It's one thing to hire somebody that knows how to use ChatGPT or Claude, but if that person doesn't know how to read a room and doesn't know how to adapt to change quickly, doesn't have all the cognitive skills, they're not going to be along. They're going to wash out.
Welcome, everyone. This is actually a very special episode, a topic that's close to my heart. I've been wanting to talk about it for a while. We're going to discuss a little bit about the future role of universities with AI and blah, 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 the end of the world, whatever it all means. And with us today is a special guest, executive at Fortune 500 companies multiple times over, also the most promising, I hear, basketball coach in America. Anything else? Professor, esteemed professor of higher learning. What else am I missing here? Alan Boyer.
A proud granddad, proud father.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that's the most important one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes number one. So I'll give you a little background about myself because, you know, we don't know each other from before. So about a decade ago, I was at what some people would consider a good university, even one of the elite ones. And even back then, like, I was doing a humanities degree, but I guess this applies to law, economics, anything that doesn't require big labs and big like tech and infrastructure.
Yes. And calculations.
Already then, I felt a little bit scammed in the sense that, I mean, I had a wonderful time, but it cost money, not as much as in America. I went to school in the UK, but still, it did cost something. And I felt like even back then, all the online systems, way before AI, I could have been sitting at a toll booth and, you know, getting a salary while reading this stuff online, or I could have been reading the stuff online in the evening and been salaried and making money somewhere actually. And my university didn't allow any of that. So even back then, I thought that I was confused about what the university strategically, where do they see themselves in society in the future? And now with AI, I guess you'll have some answers for us, right?
Well, I have some thoughts about it. I've been asked to talk about it on several occasions, but I can tell you that, first of all, thank you for having me. I can tell you that universities across the board need to pivot, and pivot in a way that they've never had to pivot before, because without understanding how to pivot and become more agile and more nimble, to your point, they may find themselves more and more irrelevant. And other resources, other people are filling gaps that universities have been slow to fill over time. When you think about online programming, when you think about non-credit credentialing, there are bigger players out there who've stepped in to fill that gap. Where you have high school kids who forego college, go get a certification, and go. I was talking to someone just today, a college president just today, talking about kids who graduate from his 2-year technical college with a certificate going to get a $60,000, $70,000 a year job without the 4-year traditional degree. And there's going to be more and more of that if universities don't pivot. And you know, they will have to really jettison a lot of the long-term approval cycles, governance cycles that really slow down productivity and innovation on the college campus.
I'm so sorry to throw a tough question right away, but I've done this to others.
That's fine.
Is this a political issue in America? Why does it smell to me like one side of the map will kind of agree with you that a huge overhaul is needed, and another side is very defensive of academic institutions?
I think it's a little of both, but I think that the biggest issue is that employers have been saying for more than a decade now that you are graduating talent, they're just not ready for automated environments. And so schools have been rushing to add AI tool proficiency in the courses, but that's not enough. In a book I recently published a couple of months ago, we talk about power skills are not enough. There are communications capabilities that cannot be automated that more and more employers are demanding that their graduates have and the new hires have. And so when you talk about whether political or there's some traditional things, there's some things that have to go with, okay, here's what we've always done it. And so an idea on some college campuses can be really thought of today, but it won't actually be implemented for 5 years, because that's just the internal process of an academic institution. And so truncating that process will make a big difference in them being to be responsive as they need to be.
What does that mean in practice, this reform or pivot or whatever word you're going to throw at it? Why would any young person pay for 4 years of college now when AI can teach you the content? If you're, I guess you need critical thinking skills, but I suppose someone else can teach you those quicker, and then you know how to evaluate the AI output, and then you can learn anything almost for free or for a $20 subscription. Why do you pay these prices that American college costs?
That is a fair assessment of how things look, but in reality, what's happening is you've got college students who are actually seeing that reality. They're looking at the cost of colleges and they're figuring out other pathways to get to where they want to go. And so the university that does not recognize that will watch their enrollment dwindle. You're seeing more and more colleges closing up, because there's a college in North Carolina that I heard about just yesterday that has no students at all. I mean, that's happening. That's a pretty dramatic situation, but that's happening across the board. Enrollments are down in a lot of cases, and you're seeing a divergence of citizens and young people taking other routes to get credentials to go to work. They can't wait for 4 years.
Exactly. Yeah. What's I guess you would have the answer here, the sort of the turnover in the AI industry, is like much quicker than what a college degree takes. Like, it's 3 years here in Europe, usually 4 in America. You get my question? Or like the industry keeps reinventing itself, whichever industry you're talking about, way quicker as well than a degree. So how can a university, they will have to shorten these programs,
right? They'll have to pivot. I hate to, I'm going to acknowledge something. I was in a meeting a couple of years ago, and someone actually said, well, if we create 8-week courses, that means the students won't be here that long. I'm like, that would be the point. Yeah. It's not about keeping them on campus. It is creating more and more ways for them to get what they need so they can go on with the rest of their lives, because other people, there's competition out there, and the competition is very real to the university campus.
This smells like people are going to be pretty, how would I say, not very excited to be adopting this shorter format because of the green, because of the bucks. I mean, for context, America, specifically the university scene, it's like a whole thing. Cities grow around these campuses. There's a huge admin. There's the sports scene, the TV contracts. Like, it's a whole mega factory of a business. And you want to have people paying fees for half the time? How's that going to ever be approved by these administrators?
I mean, as AI accelerates the work, then we've got to elevate human capability. It's like, yeah, that change is very real to what you're saying. It is shortening, but that means that we have to actually be more capable in other areas and invent more ways to get more people through the college campus and send them on their way. Yes, colleges represent significant economic impact in their communities, no doubt about that. But students have choices, and they're making those choices. And so the university's got to acknowledge that they have choices and either provide some of those choices, non-credit programs they can get in and get out, or they will watch their enrollments continue to dwindle and dwindle.
Yeah. Is this touching, you mentioned this school in North Carolina, I'm going to guess it's not like UNC or Duke or something.
It's a very small college.
When do you foresee that this is going to start touching big names?
It'll be a while because many of the larger schools have pretty large endowments. They have pretty strong public funding and private funding, and so the big names won't be touched by this. They will have time to actually pivot if that's built into their strategy. I'm working with some universities right now on just looking at their strategic plan and what's involved in their strategic plan. Is it more of the same with a different name, or is it actually retooling, redesigning, and pivoting to actually be more relevant and offer more relevant programming for potential students?
Yeah. I've seen some social media ads from big names, but they're all non-degree programs. Like they're all like what you would call further education or adult education, like extra courses for professionals that are recognizing this gap in reality versus what the university is at the moment. But no degree programs yet that are saying like hang out here for a year and get a real Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard degree.
Well, I would say that there are some schools, some big name schools that are offering free tuition for certain demographics under $200,000 in household income. There are some programs that are offering free online courses and certifications, and I know there are a lot of people taking advantage of those. So some schools have actually expanded their offering to attract those people that you're talking about.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good to hear. The students themselves, I mean, you're actively professor teaching at a school, right?
I'm a management professor.
Yeah. The students themselves right now, how have you like observed a major change in them in the last 2-3 years since ChatGPT exploded onto everyone's phones? Since then, are they studying differently? Is it all AI generated stuff that they just proofread before sending to you?
No, I have a little bit more structure in my courses. I do enable my students to use AI, but they do have to validate it. They have to verify any output that they get from that. What I teach, I have my students earn certain certifications in AI literacy as well as prompt engineering, so they have that skill set. But the third piece I add on to that is, okay, how do you actually validate and evaluate the output? So those things happen in my courses, and I'm working with other colleges and universities to actually to monetize and help them understand how to make that happen across the entire curriculum.
Yeah. So you've given your system a name as well, right?
Yes, it's right now we are. I'm doing some pilot programs this summer with a couple with about 4 schools. We're working up to like a half a dozen, where we've introduced what we're calling a course signal intelligence assessment that evaluates a course through its syllabus based on AI potential and human capability development. And so what happens is, we receive a syllabus, we run the syllabus through our assessment, and then we give that faculty member a report on actually what their course is signaling. Okay, where AI is present or not present, and where human capability is being developed, because human capability plus AI is what employers are saying they need. It's one thing to hire somebody that knows how to use ChatGPT or Claude, but if that person doesn't know how to read a room and doesn't know how to adapt to change quickly, doesn't have all the cognitive skills, they're not going to be along. They're going to wash out.
Yeah, you're saying that all these organizations are now looking for like real human skills, like leadership, critical thinking, creativity, all these things that the machine is not that great at, right? I don't know. I feel like those have exactly been my strengths my whole life. Communication, the leadership, all this. There's never been really any. I mean, there's money in them if you're also technical. Like if you also know what you're doing.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so still today, I guess my original point was that what is a humanities graduate doing even 10 years ago, paying for a university to teach that stuff? Today, they're going to come out with and saying they have all those like non-tangible skills that a machine can't have.
Right.
From critical thinking to creativity. But how is that? Who is hiring just based on that?
Yeah. Well, those skill sets are not necessarily job specific. They're not discipline specific. What you're looking at are what we used to call soft skills or hard skills or power skills. And those skills are very important, but they were designed for a different time. That's why we've actually proffered, communications superpowers that AI cannot automate. So when you talk about critical thinking, there's not a course in quote unquote critical thinking. So what we're working with universities, okay, critical thinking should be a component across all disciplines. It's not a degree you can major in. It is a human skill that all disciplines should have as a baseline, regardless of that student's intended major. And so the point I'm trying to make is there are 7 capabilities that we've identified through research: cognitive power, insight, engineering, influence engine, global and cultural fluency, systems intelligence. Those are the types of things that will require us to have different skills in order to be successful in automated environments. I know that was a mouthful. That is where industry is trying to go, because the power skills aren't enough anymore.
Yeah. You're a management professor. Everything you say is going to be a mouthful, right? It's,
I'm trying to cut it down.
People are playing bingo here, the listeners, of all the management speak. All the jargon. It's coming. What's been the reception to your approach? Let's say, do people even care? Like what I asked about administrators who really have their own jobs on the line as well. If major changes happen, do universities care?
Right, and the provosts and deans that I've been talking with for the last year, they absolutely care, and they are challenged right now to work with faculty to actually try to make that pivot and make sure they are offering things that employers want in their graduates. Graduate readiness is becoming more and more of a thing. It's not enough just to have a degree; you have to be ready, and that's the gap that a lot of administrators that I've been talking to are trying to fill right now. And they have to really truncate, as I mentioned earlier, their traditional governance processes in order to make that pivot. They can't wait 7 years for the governance process to catch up. They'll be behind in 2.
Yeah. You mentioned your book, The Power Skills Are Not Enough. There are 7 communication superpowers you talk about.
Yes.
Can you, assume I'm an idiot, which in many ways I am. Walk us through what these are, please.
Okay, I mentioned them briefly. Cognitive power is like the first one. That's the foundational one. It includes critical thinking, but it also includes several other thinking mechanisms that we go through, whether it be wondering, hypothesizing, synthesizing. All those things require different skill sets in everyone. Then you have AI fusion. That's the one I hone in on, because it's AI skill set, AI literacy with the human capability attached to it. And that's not AI knowing how to use Claude or ChatGPT, but it's how in the work environment, how do you use AI to actually make decisions, you have to validate the output while you're making decisions. There is global and cultural fluency. Can you read a room? Can you understand what dynamics are taking place in a room? A lot of people don't understand what's happening and how to read a room. AI can't do that. When you talk about insight engineering, okay, you're asked to do a research project or do a presentation, but you're not challenged to actually to discuss the findings of your research and what other conflicts you have in that research. So those are just several of the superpowers that we talk about, and those things provide the spine for the work that we're doing. And you asked me earlier what kind of traction we're seeing. Well, we've got maybe almost a dozen schools that we're talking to right now to do this pilot so that we can help them understand how to actually retool their syllabi to actually meet the expectations of employers without redesigning curriculum or redesigning a course.
Okay. Critical thinking really, I guess, is just one word. Like you could just, if you keep repeating the question, why?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
I feel like these machines will get thrown onto a loop where eventually they're just going to start repeating whatever they just said to you. No, whereas a critical thinker will realize that, I need to go deeper. Every time I need to somehow like evaluate the data and answer why. You know what I mean? Like it's repetitive.
It makes perfect sense, Danny. So here's what I'll say about the term critical thinking. Sometimes, educators have one assignment and they call it critical thinking. Or they may have you do a case study. But the case study, the problem's already identified. That's not critical thinking. Solving a problem that someone else has already identified is not critical thinking by my standard. Critical thinking is identifying the problem and then providing a solution. It's easy to actually solve a case when somebody's already pointed out the problems to you. But what the challenge is understanding how to actually identify problems and then determine solutions to the problems that you've identified. That to me is critical thinking.
Yeah. Do you think any of that is like going on in the world with your, let's say, your students, are they critical thinkers still in 2026?
In certain aspects they are, but their attention span is a lot faster, and it's the kind of thing where my challenge is making sure that they get everything they need through the course, 16 weeks or eight weeks that I have them, whether it be online or in person. And my challenge is making sure they're getting everything they need. So I have what I call a professional accelerator as a part of my course, because I actually prepare them for what that first boss is going to ask them to be able to do. What's happening right now is a lot of entry-level jobs are being automated. And so I've designed my course to make sure that actual student is prepared for that job that requires 5 years of experience, not just one. And so when you have a professional accelerator, you're actually making sure your students can actually not just do the entry-level job, but also be asked to do strategic planning, thinking, and those kinds of things. So that's how I've built my classes.
Yep. That was going to be my next question. I suppose already entry-level employment was in a crisis with outsourcing to elsewhere.
Yes.
And not just for university grads, manufacturing as well.
Everything. Right.
Yeah, entering into anything without much experience has been tough for decades.
Yes.
Now it's going to go exponentially. It's going to get harder, right?
Yes.
And these kids, I was going to ask you, like, your program sure is prepping them for that, trying to go for the second level directly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which I guess kids coming out of college always thought they deserve anyway, directly onto the second level. Like,
right. So what we try to do is prepare them for that, and to make sure that they have the experiences while they're in college. So it's not really a big pivot for them once they show up for work.
Yeah. Do you think more widely, like you're preparing people and your program seems to be addressing this? Is this happening on a wide societal level, let's say America, even Western world, more broadly?
I think more so. I think the COVID-19 pandemic actually sparked a lot of this, where we were forced into going to online teaching. That accelerated a lot of activity, and so I know you've seen an explosion of online programs, online certificates, online degree programs, and there was a lot before COVID, but there's been like this doubling of those types of increasing access to those programs is what I'm seeing, and so it's incumbent upon a lot of educators to make sure that happens in their local classrooms.
Yeah. You said you're a grandfather and father as well. You worried at all for your kids and grandkids?
From a social standpoint, yes. Not an educational standpoint.
Okay, well, they have you. But so, what's socially speaking? What's the big? You're gonna like a major havoc on the job market. What's the main worry?
Well, the environment that they're inheriting from us, the political climate, the hostilities toward people of color. All those things, yes, those things will worry me.
All right. Since you went there, with your expertise in AI curriculums, education, is there bias in these systems? Because of course, maybe notice it.
I mean, I don't want to use this. I don't be flip and say garbage in, garbage out. But everyone, inputting data into the systems, it's not a pure scenario. So yes, there's going to be some bias built in. That's why validating and verifying is going to be the most important skill that somebody can bring to an employer that's using AI to actually create content and manage processes and workflows.
Yeah, I can't actually. I know I did some training for work, corporate training about bias in AI, but I can't remember an example. None of the examples caught my attention enough to remember. I guess they were memorable examples. Right. Do you have one?
When I used AI for research, I always, the prompt that I put in, it really asked it to actually look for a variety of sources. Might be a particular school, particular name, particular executive, And then I ask the questions and make sure the perspectives cover all demographic groups. I ask that specific questions, and then I look at the output from that. That's how I get to looking at decisions and research and information from various points of view. And I don't mind bias, but I want it balanced off with something else.
Yeah, I guess so. In America, another bias that's gonna come into this is the big corporations. It's gonna be a few names when universities start pivoting, as they hopefully do. They're gonna probably, it's gonna all be centralized, the education of our kids. But there's a few big players that all the universities are going to contract some system. Hopefully your system, and you're going to make a gazillion bucks through something licensed through you. But either way, at some point, whether through buyouts or hostile takeovers, whatever's going to happen, it's going to most likely centralize to, either Elon or Sam or whatever they're all called.
Okay.
So isn't that a major risk for bias as well, that if these systems are going to be more and more involved with our kids' education, that it's all coming from these sources?
Yeah, the potential is always there, whether you have a Sam or anybody. The bias is always there. The thing that educators and employers have to do is make sure they have processes and systems in place so that bias can be identified and countered. That's the most important thing. We all have biases. We all do. Okay, and so it would be disingenuous to say that I don't have biases. I have biases. My thing is to make sure that I am allowed to bring in other information to actually balance out my perspectives. And if you don't have that, yes, you run the risk of just sitting in a bubble and just being one dimensional and not really understanding what's going on around you.
Yeah. What about us old folks, the people who have reached the advanced age of 36 like me, who are not going to go to university again? Upskilling, if you have a job and a mortgage and childcare duties and all of that, even that's pretty tough for most people.
Uh-huh.
What would you suggest, what should people do? And do you guys provide something? Is your plan to also include people who've already graduated?
Yes, what we're doing right now, working with colleges and with universities and organizations, and like I said, I had a conversation today with a technical college president, and one of the questions I asked him, I said, okay, are you providing non-credit credentialing for your community and for your students? And the answer was no. And I said, well, that's your biggest gap right there, because if you can provide those non-credit programs for your students, you can upskill a whole community. When I was at Kansas State University for 5 years, I finished a 5-year commitment last year. I was leading something called Digital Kansas 2030, and it was about upskilling communities all across the state of Kansas through hubs of digital learning, a mobile lab that taught AI and all types of skills. That's what's going to be required. Increasing access to broadband. Those are things that will be required to reach, adult learners, young kids, those kinds of things. And that's what a lot of universities are looking at doing going forward. Is that they have to expand their curriculum and access to education through non-credit programs.
Yeah, and I suppose alumni relations and donations, and depending on the university, some have large endowments, so it's less relevant. But alumni relations are very important for a lot of schools. So I personally don't give money back to my college, because while I was there, I didn't feel like I was getting that much support for them. Whereas I would give if they asked me, to sports teams and other hobbies I was involved with, because I feel like they still give me stuff. I still meet those friends all the time. You see what I mean? So I guess this would be a way, at least in my case, if my university actively asked me, like, where are you in your career? What skill, these are the things we could offer you for free or for a nominal payment that anyone can afford to maintain your education pathway and remain relevant. I guess that would help. And then when they call me and ask for donations, I'd have a real different attitude towards it. It's almost like a trade-off.
Okay, so to that point, I'm glad you brought that up. Another project that I was spearheading a couple of years ago was what we were calling a digital village on the campus of Kansas State University. And one of the components of that was to create a collaboratory for alumni to come back and upskill, reskill, and that kind of thing. More and more universities are doing that in various forms, but it's not as well known as it could be. And that's where I think universities, the smart universities, will look at, okay, how can we get more activity from our alumni base? I think non-credit programs, both offered online, and if you're a school that's pretty much landlocked in the middle of nowhere, online, for working alumni and for retired alumni, I think is a huge solution. Not nominal cost for a credential or a course. I know a lot of schools are doing that, but in my estimation, the non-credit thing that's going to be the biggest push for the universities. And I know that gets into credit hour generation issues, and there's a whole lot of issues that go with that when you look at how universities are structured and the infrastructure of a university. Non-credit programs provide a huge challenge to universities.
Yeah. So I'm going to name drop a few companies that, according to the internet, you've been at. Let me know if any of them are wrong. AT&T, Coca-Cola, Equifax. If you were now over there, let's say a college grad is applying for the second level jobs, because none of them go for the entry level jobs, and those are becoming automated anyway. What's a question you think a big corporation like that should even ask these people? How do they test someone whether they have the right stuff today?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up, because I was having a conversation the other day about that very thing. What many companies do, Danny, is they make decisions based on visual and conversational performance. And I believe that we need to get in more to not behavioral questions, but actually testing, to your point. Because the point I made the other day, analogy I made, okay, in all levels of sports, there are tryouts. We don't make decisions on athletes if we haven't seen them play, right? And so it's a challenge for companies to figure out how to evaluate talent before they make a decision, an investment. So my thing is, how do we do that? How do we evaluate talent? And that's the challenge that I would be looking at. Now, when I was a C-suite executive, I remember interviewing folks finishing MBA school, and they could not write the narrative for an annual report. Okay, they could probably read a financial statement, but they couldn't write about it. And that's something I would test because I was a part of the job. I would test that skill set in the hiring process. We need to devise more and more ways to evaluate performance before making that hiring decision. Yeah, that's what I would do now.
But what's going to actually happen is they're just going to have AI make the actual hiring decision as well.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think that you can use AI for inputs. You can use AI to evaluate resumes, and they already do that already. I mean, the resume tracking system is all AI automated. But the decision-making part needs to have human interaction, human intervention.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't hire somebody based on what a machine said.
But I can just imagine a world in which because these models are going to become vastly superior even to what we see today.
Yes.
That in a hiring decision, they're just going to input the person and their CV, and this thing is going to scour the internet. And first of all, it's going to flag up anything that might be damaging to the company.
Right.
Then it's going to start flagging. Then it's going to, maybe it won't tell the people why it gives this person a score of 54% hireable instead of 87.
Right.
It's going to do it because this person has expressed like AI skeptical opinions online. Right. And then it's going to start protecting itself, right? Or something like that. It's a dystopian scenario.
Yeah, well, they're doing that now, Danny. I mean, companies are using AI to do that now. The challenge is, how is that person? I mean, the washout rate for a new hire is about 46% within 18 months. Okay.
Whoa. Wait. Where is that? in all across America or the
Yeah, all
world
across
or where?
America. 'Cause I was preparing for a conversation the other day, and I was doing some research on, okay, what is a washout rate for new hires? And the corporations are saying, okay, we see a lot of talent with AI skills, but they don't have the skills we need in AI. There's a gap. Okay, and so they wash out for other reasons, not technical. It might be that it may be interpersonal. It may be they don't know how to read a room. It may be they're not really good at looking at data and making decisions. They may be the ones that, like some students, they take the AI output and hand it in. They don't even bother reading it, kind of thing. That may be happening too. But there's all lots of reasons. But it's usually not technical.
It could just be young people not knowing what they want from life and testing things out, right?
It could be that too, or the company. There's a flip side of that, Danny. Or the company not really sure what they want in the position.
Yeah,
that happens too.
I'm gonna say something that maybe people in your generation should be saying or shouldn't be saying, but would be saying. I have a feeling. So I've worked in a couple of schools, a fancy British private school and then a normal state one. So I've had some contact with the generation below me, going to university right now. There is something, though, that has happened that might contribute other than all the other transformations around these people. In this generation, through social media or whatever, there is quite a me attitude about how I feel about something, how things need to be adapted to me specifically. And I could see in a lot of these kids, there are beautiful exceptions who have a very different upbringing than the average. But I could see in a lot of average kids that when they arrive in the workplace, it's going to be a rude awakening. Nothing will be adapted to what you enjoy and how you feel about things. You're going to produce and do your best, or someone's going to have a problem with you. Right? And that might be what's happening as well.
Well, yes, but that's not a new thing. I mean,
every generation has said this about the generation below.
Yeah, that's not a new thing. I mean, kids show up to that first job, and they want to be catered to, and they don't understand the expectations. And you may have to be here before 9 o'clock in the morning, and there's all kinds of things that they're not ready for. I have to be here all day. They're not ready for the workplace a lot of times. And so we look at students who've had apprenticeships or internships or summer jobs or something that shows that they understand what it means to go to work every day and be productive while you're there.
Yeah. Since you maybe know, because you teach it and you've been one, in the management cadre, let's say, there will be more people that are closer to your age than the kids' age. Are managers frustrated, or are they adapting? Because I've had some managers in my life who, if they were speaking to the kids now the way they were speaking to me, I think there might be a problem. Because I'm from I guess in my generation you will still take shit in a different way. Like if someone tells you sharply to just do something, you wouldn't go home and cry about it or write a nasty letter about it.
That's fair. Again, every generation has this, and you you must think I'm younger than I actually am. There are 3 rungs of management level people below me. People in their 50s, their 40s, and 30s. Okay, and they are seeing that phenomenon in the attitudes of new hires, at all levels. Okay, it's easier for when I'm coaching basketball, I'm an old school type of basketball coach. So I coach mainly middle school and high school kids. I can't deal with the younger ones. Okay, that's a totally different mindset to deal with the younger ones. That's the same mindset in management. Okay, you may put new hires with a group of people who are recent hires. Okay, you wouldn't necessarily put new hires with someone with 20 years of experience. You wouldn't do that alignment. And so companies are smart to align management with people who are employees with managers who are closer to their age and more recent hires who can speak the language and understand how to motivate that new hire coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's to your point, it's not, do what I say, because I said so. We're beyond that at certain levels.
Yeah. Exactly. You'd be losing talent if you didn't adapt at all.
Absolutely.
My guess is just Yeah, my question was maybe like behind the scenes, you would know personally, maybe some executives, like what's the scuttlebutt? Are they sort of frustrated and pissed off, or are they open, like fine, we're adapting? What's the vibe? Or
It's
are they?
it's a little of both. Those who are strategic about it understand that for the company's continued growth and meeting all aspirations, you got to bring up the people behind you. You have to. And so it's a necessary evil, but you have to make sure you have systems in place to do that.
You since you brought it up, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. We had a guest a while back who called basketball boring. Will
Okay.
you, as a distinguished basketball coach on the of the Atlanta Hawks, will you set the record straight here? Why is basketball not boring?
I think you will be hard pressed to find a sport where there's a basket every 20 30 seconds. There's a reason to cheer every 20 30 seconds. The mystery in a close game is one of the most adrenaline pounding experiences because you don't know who's going to win. So when you think about boring, I mean that person just doesn't like basketball. But as far as the energy involved in watching basketball, playing basketball, and the skill level required to play basketball, I have bias because I'm a youth development coach here in town. But you won't find a more challenging sport, team sport. Let's say team sport that requires a lot of skill with and without the basketball. That people line the court side to watch their favorite players play. I don't think there's another sport that you're as close to the fans as you are in basketball.
I'm a situational fan. I like international basketball more than the NBA for
Okay.
two reasons, and I think you might be able to,
I
as
can
a
guess.
coach, you might be able to relate to this.
Yes.
I like the international because they actually call fouls. Like they actually call the rules as they are, like traveling and all that. Because
Yes.
the NBA
Yes.
for me is impossible to watch. I don't know what's happening. And
Yes.
then the other thing is that it's a bit less of the ego. Because I guess in basketball is a great example of what we just discussed, the generational shift in young people's attitudes about their own worth and how the world
Yes.
should adjust to them
Yes.
rather than them adjusting to the world.
Yes.
In basketball, the players have taken over the egos, the social media, all that, the sneaker
Yes.
deals.
Yes. I don't begrudge players to get their bags to maximize their financial profiles. I think that when you ask someone to give up their body for, I would say 10 years max. I don't begrudge them for what they do. I do think that some athletes are really good at working with kids and with communities, and I think that's a valuable give back type of thing of the smart athletes.
Bill Simmons' book of basketball, you think that's overrated or you think it's a masterpiece?
I can't comment on that kind of stuff because those people cover the NBA, and I have to be very careful about how I talk about people who cover the NBA.
Fair enough. I knew that was going to be no, I'm kidding. So really, even for junior coaching, you have like a relationship with the club that you can't comment on,
Yes,
like
that's correct.
broadcasters or so.
That's correct.
That's really interesting. In itself, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's just smart to. I mean, we have periods where we can't talk about players. We have periods where we have to be very smart because the league is it's a business, and we all sign up for certain to fulfill certain expectations, both while we're on the court doing the work and off the court. And so there are a lot of expectations to make sure the league maintains its status of professionalism and being that example of good sportsmanship for young people.
Yeah. That's a beautiful professional answer. I recognize one when I see one, Alan. Beautiful. One more, I promise. Since you said you're an old school coach, but you're also on the forefront of combining AI,
Yeah.
merging AI into curriculums.
Yeah.
So you're teaching these young kids basketball. True, honest answer is: are you evaluating your plays and your game plans with an AI bot? Yes or no?
Actually, no. What I focus on with the kids is how are they understanding the game itself? How are they understanding court spacing and floor spacing? How are they understanding, how to play without the ball? A lot of things about basketball have little to do with X's and O's. It has more to do with that individual skill set and how that player develops his IQ, if you will, for the game.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I can go online and find drills for days. I can find X's and O plays for days. But when you get in the gym, it's really about how the ball bounces.
That's true. But you wouldn't have like uploaded a game and then uploaded an opponent's game into a bot. Am I giving you an idea here? Because then they could suggest one.
I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but at the youth level, we're talking middle school and pre-high school. We're just doing skill development. We're really helping these kids get their fundamentals down and understanding how to play the game. Period.
Yeah. That's an interesting point in itself, actually. I don't know if this is interesting to you at all, but I was a pretty high level for a while until a certain age youth hockey player in Finland. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Finland has had this reputation always of starting to teach systems and teaching the game way too early. And for a while, they had a huge problem with not being a mega hockey country, but not getting enough high-level NHL talent, like proper superstars and first-round draft picks for years. And that was my generation that went through that because the philosophy was wrong, and they weren't going individual skills first. Like, you're not going to play with this team when you're a professional. Why would you learn a system with this youth team? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. And so being an all-around player, understanding when we talk about fluid adaptation, that's one of our power skills. I'm going to go back to that. When we talk about fluid adaptation, that's what basketball is. You need to adapt to every single situation that occurs on the floor.
Yeah. And it seems like that's what we're all going to have to be now, like going into the future.
Yes, it applies to work too.
Yeah. I'll let you do a plug for the end, of course, but final question that I've asked anyone who's come with an AI or tech-related discipline on the show. Out of all the celebrity executives, who's your favorite? All of these, because they're now the biggest celebrities in the world for some reason, tech nerds. Like, you have a favorite?
I can't say I have a favorite. I've worked with some people. When you say celebrity, that spoils it for me because there are some people I know who are behind the scenes making that stuff happen. Okay.
Yeah.
When I was with First Data, the company partnered with Microsoft to develop a capability to present bills to consumers online, and the people actually building that technology, I work with those people. Those people are heroes to me. When I was at Equifax, I was responsible for a market introduction of the capability to secure enterprises by identifying consumer identities online, authenticating identities online. So when somebody was applying for a credit card, applying for a bank loan, or applying for a car, Equifax created that technology to verify their identification over the internet. The people who put that together, those people are the people that I worked with closely and understood what the real power of what they were doing.
That's a really good answer. We've tortured you with all kinds of technical problems. I want to thank you for your patience. You've been a wonderful guest. Professor Alan Boyer, tell people where they can find your stuff because this is interesting.
Okay, there's for the book, Power Skills Are Not Enough, the 7 communication superpowers that AI cannot automate. It's on Amazon as we speak. It debuted in April, #1 new release in business school, business school section, and I'm proud of that. And then you can look us up at ithrivelearning.com. That is our business. We've got 7 strategic advisors based in Boston, Jordan internationally, Texas, Kansas, and right here in Georgia, obviously, and then in California. And what we work with universities, and we work with educators, and work with companies with designing AI plus human capabilities in their learning development programs and corporations, and in the classroom on college campuses. We work with deans, we work with curriculum designers, we work with educators to identify the gaps in their curriculum and in the courses to really elevate graduate readiness to prepare students for automated environments. That's what we do.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, awesome, Alan. Thank you so much. This was super interesting. I'll put all your links in the description, and there people can also find the internet buttons for this show and do the follows and the blah, blah, all the socials. Hey, thank you, Alan. Now, if you enjoyed this episode of The Talking Ass, remember to rate, review, follow the show for more of this weirdness, and share it with a friend, enemy, neighbor, relative, lover even. And press those goddamn internet buttons. Press them hard. Follow, all that jazz. See you next time.